Well, you may wonder at this rather dull assembly of cakes, but you see, over recent years, you have created the demand for my mother's grandmother's black plum cake, and I have to make it every year. But never have you seen this. And if you run away with the idea that that's a bit of Madeira fruit cake, I'll go right off you, because it's called a white Christmas cake, because it's beige, of course, that's so logical. But it is the most wonderful one, and I've never shared it with anybody on television before. It's absolutely spit new. And so we're going to make it right the way through. But that one, eventually, will be cut so that you can compare it after we've made it with the one we're going to do. So there are the two plain ones, the old black plum and the new white Christmas. Here is the new white Christmas, the old black plum, covered with almond paste. We're going to try and do that too, and everything else we can in the time. So let's go over here. And I want to say straight away to you that, as some of you may already know, the finished appearance of your iced Christmas birthday or other celebration cake must depend, and does wholly, upon the preparation of the tin in the first place. So let's take that for a start. This is a sliding base cake tin, which is the ideal kind to have if you can manage it. I'm not going to push it up now because it's just got the papers inside and it'll all collapse. And inside is the paper cut to the depth of your cake, which you measure, plus its diameter in 1 inch. All this is written down in this booklet, which has got so much in it, but it's not a booklet, really. It's a small book. And you cut it 1.5 inches higher than that depth of the cake. And then you oil it on both sides, not just on one. Now, look, see what I mean. If you oil it on both sides, then that side sticks to the tin, and this side is oiled so that this mixture won't stick to it, and it makes the whole thing easier. So now that's how we're going to have our cake tin, you and me both, when we make our Christmas cakes. Now, obviously, I've done the buttercream. And I'm not giving you quantities now because everything is booklet. I've creamed that until it's loose and floppy. And I want you to see just how easy it is to make up these mixtures. In here, I've got 4 lots of things. Sultanas, chopped seeded raisins, glassy cherries, and peel. You don't want to make any mistakes with this cake because it's a pretty naughty one for this time, you know, this price range that we're living with at the moment. But on the other hand, we do want one piece of decent cake in the year. This is a few walnuts going in. And then the flour, which is mixed with corn flour. And I want you to have one decent piece of cake, and I think we can all save and sacrifice for that. And you see, everything can go in absolutely pell-mell, plus a little bit of chopped angelica, a little bit of glassy cherries from the sweet shop, and a little bit of glassy ginger from the sweet shop, all diced up. Then you have your fluids all mixed up together in a jug. Now, these fluids are the eggs, well beaten up, a little bit of cheapest cooking brandy from a miniature bottle, drop of orange flower water and rose water from the chemist, and I'll have more to say about that, so please wait for it, but I put it in the booklet as well. And finally, the strained juice and the grated rind of an orange. I thought I'd have this here to show you I have strained the juice and that the rind has already been grated. And don't grate it till you get down to the dead white, because then it makes the cake bitter. And then you slosh all that mixed pell-mell of fluids in there. And I have scrubbed and scrubbed downstairs in the makeup room and got my fingernails and my hands spotless. And, of course, there's no nail varnish on them, and I'm going to use them unashamedly because that's the best way to make a good cake. And you work up your mixture like this. You take it and squeeze it through your fingers. I hope you can see this really well. I'm tipping it as far as I dare without tipping the entire contents onto the table. And you simply use a squeezing motion so that you bring the flour into everything else. Now hold it like this so that you get a really good view. Work it up. And then once again, that same old thing that you and I have said about somebody that you've never really liked, and you give it a good slosh like this, but you've really done the work. Come on, Sarah. You know my Sarah now. She's going to help me at this next stage. And then you dump that into there. That. One bit on the table, Sarah. But that's not bad, is it? That's it. And a filthy hand. Would you take that for me, darling? Thank you very much. Now you bang that down. No, bang that. Sorry for that noise. Bang that down with your knuckles. And make sure that when you've got it in, I'll clean my hand presently, when you've got it in, you use a spatula. I'll show you this because I must do this vertically, and then I'll tip it up for you. You run it round with the spatula, and you make sure that there's the faintest of indents in the middle. Very, very faint. And then, like that, with my filthy hand, we can't waste that glassy cherry, I can lift it up and show it to you, and you can see what it's like. And like that, it goes into the oven, which has been preheated for me. It's now at low. 1 shelf below centre, gas mark 4, and that stays for exactly 1 hour. You don't mind, do you, if while I'm talking to you, Sarah puts the next lot of things in for me, and I use the bucket, because it's quite impossible to go on cooking with that hand. Now, the gas mark 4, I've written all this down too, lasts for exactly 1 hour, after which you turn it down to gas mark 3. And you leave it for 20 minutes. I've timed this with the one I made for you, you see, and you'll be looking at that, so I can't get away with very much. And you leave that for 20 minutes, and then you turn it round in the oven so that what was the front is now the back, and vice versa, and you leave it for another 20 minutes. And there are 2 tests for baking. If you're not deaf, I think the very best is that you listen to it, and you hear it singing faintly. That means it isn't quite cooked. But if it stops singing, it's perfect, and if you are deaf, then you use a skewer driven in. And what I didn't do, Sarah, was to put it on my cake tin. Cake base, which was very naughty of me. You want 4 folds of brown paper and stand it on, and then it never gets burnt on the bottom. It won't hurt to snatch it out. That's my girl. Now for the almond paste. I got just a little practice cake here, you see? And you just put a little bit of apricot jam or jelly or something like that on there. Slosh it. Take it and put it onto a bit of rolled out almond paste, like that. Run a knife all the way round it. All this palaver with lumps of almond paste dumped on the top and working away with a rolling pin is sheer fiddle. It's not professional, it's not easy, because, you know, if you think about it, the professional way must always be the best, because they've got to do it to make a living, haven't they? Brush the surplus off there, get rid of that, and then brush the sides. Jelly or jam, again, and this time you come down that bit of almond paste too, and then when you've done it all, you use the brush to pick up that little bit of corn flour that's on the bottom, because it's absolutely essential to rolled almond paste and royal icing, or the fondant that I've given you, which I found out, I've given you both in the book, which I found out you like so much better, to roll it over corn flour, because if you use flour and you want to keep your cake, that flour works, and your cake will rise into humps and lumps and bumps. And then what do? You simply dump the cake on there, pick up that piece of paste, trundle it all the way round, work in the join, and you've got exactly what I had done for you there. Now, we lose that one. Sarah takes that away for me. I clear the table down. I want, if it's possible, to take you right through the whole lot in a total time of 13 and a half minutes. This is the icing that you like so much, which is called fondant icing, and it's very easily made. Of course, I've got the recipe written for that as well for you. Thank you, my love. And it's nice if you can have a piece of waxed paper and dust icing sugar over it very, very thickly indeed. Now, you know, I've sometimes got a very naughty trick of wearing rings when I'm cooking, so I forget about them. Don't you wear any rings for this, or you'll be in dead trouble. And I want to talk to you about that orange flower water and rose water in our cake while I'm rolling this out. I once made something which is a very, very famous pudding called Crème Marie-Louise, and I made it on the stage to 2,500 people. And everybody loved it, and there was a lot of applause, and we were very happy about it. And then I had a dirty letter from a member of the audience. She wrote me very, very crossly, and she said, I tasted the one you made on stage. I took away your printed recipes. I made it. It was disgusting. So, of course, I'll never have any of that from a reader. I wrote back to her, and I said, you tell me exactly what you did. Because if you did what I did, that's what I wrote down, that was what you ate, and it should have been perfect. And she told me. You know what she'd done? She'd gone to the chemist and she'd bought orange flower face lotion and rosewater face lotion. She'd made a rich cream pudding with that. So please, darlings, will you say when you go to the chemist that you want an orange flower water and a rose water, which are for culinary use. You see, there are these pitfalls. I've just had a query on a new book, cookery book, from a very clever woman with a lot of degrees. She doesn't know anything about cooking. So there's a marginal query. What is brill? Well, of course. No, bass. I felt like writing back and saying, well, you can either tie the plants up with the gardens or go to the fishmongers and buy it. It wouldn't make friends, would it? Now, this is the tricky part. You see, a lot of housewives don't like icing cakes, and they don't get them smooth, and they get themselves into a tiswas. But if you do this, you can treat it exactly like pastry paste. And you lift it up, and you pop it over, and you push it in. And you've got a perfect... I'm looking now in my bit of being able to see what I'm doing. You see, you've got a perfectly iced cake straight away. Whether I shall be able to go on and finish it, I don't quite know, but I'm going steadily on as far as I can. Now, you make an incision at one side, and you take away the surplus so that you only have one join, and it fits in absolutely perfectly. There's a bit of egg white if it's difficult to set that. And then with a straight eye, and mine is the most crooked in Christendom, you cut all your surplus fondant away from the bottom. Easy when you know how, isn't it? I'm cutting away very carefully. Now, you see, you'll probably want to know if there's anything complex about making the fondant. Well, there isn't. You have a little pot and you melt a bit of liquid glucose in it. Liquid glucose. And there is the second stage. We've done it. There's the almond paste on your cake, ready for you to decorate it. Now, if I remove the surface... And this is what you use to stamp out little bits with fancy cutters into little circles and things, and then you put the candles in those, and you have to buy any cake candle holders because they're horribly expensive nowadays. Come on over here. Now, these are two cakes that we've done. That is the white Christmas cake, and that is the old one we did before. I thought you'd like to see two ways of icing that are really easy. This is nothing more nor less than florist's paper. You know, the kind you have the bows on bouquets. And Johnny, who's terribly good at these things, has pressed it into pleats and stuck it with a bit of yoo-hoo and made it into a lovely cake band instead of buying one. Now, I'm going to move that cake. Now, I'm going to pull that out of the way, because I'm going to cut you a slice of my white Christmas cake, and then you really have seen it from the cradle to the grave. Well, not exactly to the grave, cradle to the tum, shall we say. There it is. And what's this bit about fruit sinking in the middle and going down to the bottom? And, you know, it's money for old rope, isn't it? I do hope you enjoy making it, and even more, I hope you enjoy eating it. Bye.